Through. All right, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and get started. We are, just so everybody knows, I'm flying out to Dallas tomorrow. I will be on the call. My camera may or may not be turned on depending on if I'm en route to the conference. But I'm looking forward to bringing back some takeaways from that event. So Go is our management group, and they're the largest franchise owners within Keller Williams. And they do a big launch event similar to what we did with State of the Company in Dallas. So some cool pieces of that is, and I need y'all to write this down, Rory Vaden, Rory Vaden. I know Teresa Flood mentioned this during State of the Company when she was talking about branding. He's coming to speak, but looking forward to hearing him in person. And just getting some of those takeaways to bring that back for you all. So I'm going there to get value. I'm not going there, obviously, to sit. I'll have a notebook of notes, and I'll be bringing that back to these calls. So look forward to that. It is Thankful Thursday. So what that means is please tell somebody today that you appreciate them and that you're grateful for them. Make sure y'all get your gratitude in this morning as we wrap up the week tomorrow. So wanted to talk today about net sheets. We typically I don't think we talk about net sheets as much as we should because typically the consumer looks at the value of their home and only the value of their home. And I believe that we should give them, and I'm going to put this in quotes because you've got to make sure that you say this, an estimate of what they would walk away with at closing. So just like on the lender side, the buyer will get a loan estimate sheet that will tell them all the fees that are coming out of pocket. And that essentially is the flip side of a net. How much are they going to keep in their pocket and save up front so that they can net more in their home so that they can purchase more furniture. So hopefully everybody's following me here. So the loan estimates on the buy side. On the sell side is what are the sellers going to net after closing? So you've got your whatever the price of the home is, and then you got all these cost of sales. So all of these things are what the costs are affiliated with the sale, and then whatever they net is what they are estimated to walk away with. Long story short, I have had an attorney draft up mine, and I need y'all to reach out to an attorney to draft up y'all's. And this is why. So we have an attorney that drafts ours every single time we go to a listing. And the reason being is, can somebody tell me how many different jurisdictions are in any given area? How many jurisdictions are in Shelby County? Anybody know? How many jurisdictions are in DeSoto County? None of us know that information, and I don't either. So that's nothing that I think we should know. But I think what y'all have to understand is there's city taxes and there's county taxes. And so in saying that, there are multiple jurisdictions, and based on that, taxes are typically paid when? Anybody know? Property taxes are paid in what?
Yearly and end of year.
We call it, yes, it's paid in arrears. Okay. So typically if we have taxes being held in an escrow account every single month, right, it accumulates. However, if somebody purchases a property in June, then they're going to be responsible for the remainder of the taxes for that year, right, for those property taxes. And then you're going to get the property taxes from the previous owner from January to June, and then the back end is going to be due from the new owner. Hopefully y'all are following me. All that to say is it can get very tricky this time of year as to what taxes are owed and what the total amount is. So as much as we want to just kind of put a set formula on it, I do think this is where it is of high value to have an attorney at the title company that you work with to ask them to draw up a net sheet for you or to review your net sheet to make sure that the property taxes and the tax prorations, what I mean by prorations is, when it's paid in arrear, we have to make sure based on the month that the prorations are correct. So let me give you an example. So say I'm going into a listing appointment in December. Say my seller does not have an escrow account, and they have their taxes are, I'm just making this up, $5,000, and we're going to close in January. So their check is already on their way to the tax assessor's office, and yet it hasn't hit yet. It hasn't hit the tax assessor's office. So essentially, the title company is probably going to have to collect that amount before we can transfer the deed, right? And then now we've got to go get this $5,000 from the tax assessor's office because the title company is going to pay the tax assessor's office. All that to say, and I'm not trying to get in the weeds of all of this, but I want y'all to understand $5,000 is a lot of money when a seller doesn't realize that they're going to have to bring that to the table. Would everybody just agree on that? Yes. So I think it's important. We can say it's an estimate, and I'm going to show you some resources for that. But I do think it is important to get with the title attorney to find out some additional information. So what I typically tell my sellers is, hey, this is the net sheet that the title company has drafted. I do need to know what your payoff amount is on, what is your initial payoff, and is there a secondary mortgage on it? What is that? Are there any liens on the property that I need to be aware of, and what is that? And then, do you typically hold your taxes in escrow, or do you typically pay them out of pocket? I'm going to stop. I want y'all to ask me a question because I'm going pretty deep into this because I need y'all to understand the intricacies behind a net sheet. But I don't want it to scare y'all not to do some estimates or get with somebody to create an estimate. What questions do y'all have? Everybody understands this in full?
When you describing this, if you can keep one sheet in front of us, you can share your screen and talk. It will be better understandable.
Yeah, but it's not going to be me because I'm not an attorney. So who do you need to talk to?
Attorney?
Correct. This is where the disclaimers come in, guys and gals. You need to make sure you talk to an attorney to, number one, help you understand a net sheet, and then help you understand a settlement statement. So, and I'm going to go over SESMED. I'm just going to give you a general overview of a net sheet today in just a minute and where y'all can access. And now these are rough estimate sheets. But I also want y'all to meet with a title company, and I don't care who it is, and I want you to ask them to go over a closing statement, settlement statement, and hey, if I'm going to list, and let's just give a mock example of 1234 Main Street, what would that net sheet look like? And this is what a mock payoff would be so that they can walk y'all through that. So this is your homework. There's a reason why you should interview title companies. And this is why. So all that to say, it says, Mina, I'm going to go through a general overview, kind of what you're saying, but I do want y'all to speak with a title attorney and go over a settlement statement and a net sheet. I had somebody hit something in the chat. Sorry, this says, yeah, we have a conversation with every offer, written summary of what the seller can expect to be responsible for at closing and what their desired net will be. We also explain that it's based on the information we have at the moment, correct? And that all attorneys have their own fees, 100%. So this is an estimate. This time of year, it will vary based on property taxes, jurisdictions, and when those are due, because all of those are due at different times. All right, and I'm going to show y'all a few just tips and tricks here that I think y'all should also be aware of. All right, Mississippi folks on the call, you have access. I know you have access to Cloud CMA, and I know you have access to RPR. So I'm going to start there so I can hit on it for you guys. So when you go to cloudcma.com, if somebody can hit this link in the chat, cloudcma.com, I had to set up a new login because I haven't been in here forever. So all you do is put your email address in and then set up your password, and then boom, you're into CMA, Cloud CMA reports. Okay. And this is housed by what's called Lone Wolf. That's irrelevant. Just know that that is the company that is housing Cloud CMA. All right. Same thing for RPR. So NAR, RPR.com. Linda, I think you're probably hitting this in the chat. Same thing applies. I had to reset my password in order to get into this. I don't know if anybody's using this currently. We're going to start doing a deep dive into this training because I think y'all need to understand what is being offered currently so that you can create different reports. There might be some questions in the chat. Linda, is there questions in the chat before I move forward?
No, Sasmita was just typing out the websites for us.
Got it. Thank you, Sasmita. All right, so I'm going to start here at Cloud CMA. I started this one this morning just because I was playing around with it. So I'm going to go over here and I'm just going to put sample. All right, my subject property, I pulled this one up just because 622 Sagewood, same thing applies for Mississippi. Okay, 622 Sagewood. There we go. It's going to autofill. I could check that out. And obviously, I typically would dive into this a little deeper, but right now I'm going the quick route here. And then I'm going to pull this up. And I'm going to show y'all in just a minute where the net sheet portion is. So just hold tight. All right. So I'm just going to select all right now just because I'm just going to move this forward so that I would typically dive into this, but I'm not doing that right now. All right. This is where I can customize. All right. So I can customize my CMA report. Right here, it shows me seller net sheet. All right. It has all of these different things that I essentially could then create a report for. All right. I want to click on this just so, Sasmita, to your point, so you can see what this is. This is a rough estimate seller net sheet. So you have to tell the client, again, this is a rough estimate seller net sheet. And whenever we get under contract negotiations, I will reach out to our title company and they can create us a more accurate, viable one. But at this point, this just shows you the general cost of sales. This is home warranty, home inspection, termite inspections, commissions, taxes, total selling price net. And this is my general net sheet. Okay. Typically, just so everybody knows, a more detailed net sheet is going to show their payoff amount. It's going to show the proration of property taxes and all of those things. But this is showing them that there's a cost of sale here. Any questions about this before I go forward?
So once do you show the general net sheet as if you're at a listing appointment, and then once you have the listing, you get with the attorney, or wait till we have an offer?
I get with the attorney beforehand.
Okay.
But I mean, I do a lot of business with them. So this is part of the value adds, right, y'all? So like you ask them like, hey, will you do this for me ahead of time? And that way I have it. And Deanna, I like to, just so everybody knows, I like to do 3. Why do I want to do 3 different net sheets?
I would think so. It covers you and it gives them an estimate range.
So yeah, it gives them options, right? I've got back to my Steve Schleter presentation. It gives you a wholesale price, market value price, and pushing the market price, right? And then what their net would be. But this is like after I've talked to them all about, our pricing strategy, right? And then I've got our 3 net sheets to back it up because the consumer wants options. So this is a very rough estimate seller net sheet, which you certainly can use. And I know a lot of agents use it, y'all. I'm just letting y'all know there are more nuances to a net sheet. I do know Mississippi, I'm still working to get additional information. I know that Tennessee has a more detailed net sheet, which I'm going to show y'all in just a minute. Who has not been in Cloud CMA and RPR? Please hit it in the chat because I just need to know if we need to do a lot more training on this, which my gut tells me we do because I've not been in it in forever, but I'm not sure if everybody else feels that way. So like I drew up a quick report and it's pretty nice. I mean, I did just a quick report on this, and while this is going, see, it gives me like make a flyer, all these different things, and it's publishing my listing right now. And then I can view it live in just a minute. But it's like a whole listing presentation. So that was a very rough, like pulling of information. I just want y'all to know that that is there. I also am trying to give the Mississippi folks on here an offering for a rough net sheet estimate. I think regardless of whether it's perfect, y'all may not have somebody right now that you could call directly. However, I do think having a rough estimate and saying exactly what somebody just put in the chat, like I would say, hey, this is a rough estimate and just letting you know this is what we have currently. I'm going to go over here though, because I want y'all to see this is RPR. This has a similar type format. And we're going to get into this a little bit more later. But today I need y'all to log into RPR and I need y'all to log into Cloud CMA so that we can start working through these pieces of software. For people in Tennessee, I have found under resources right here at the top. Sorry, Mississippi, hold on for me just a second. I've got a buyer closing cost form and I've got a seller net proceeds form. And this is a more detailed form than what you're going to see on Cloud CMA. So this may be y'all's estimate form to use. I think this is a great option. I'm hoping we are going to call the Mississippi Association to see if they have a more in-depth seller net sheet than what I'm getting over here on Cloud CMA. All right, I'm going to pause and stop. What questions do y'all have? Thoughts, concerns? What questions do y'all have right now?
I just have a comment. This is Dorcas. I think seeing this physically to be able to print out during my consultations, because I normally go over this information, but it can be added to the packet, especially for my clients that are visual and they like to have something in hand versus me, verbally talking them through the process. So being able to add this sheet as an additional rough draft of approximately what those costs will look like, I think would be a plus. Or I know would be a plus.
Yeah, I mean, if you take them darkest through, hey, this is, so going back to the listing process, y'all, we have, what do we start with? Do we start with marketing? No. What do we start with? Strategic what? Pricing, which is the intelligence seller's guide to pricing. So we agree on a price, right? And then we can pull out the net sheet and then actually take them through and walk them through it. A lot of agents try to bypass it because of commissions. Please don't be that person. Understand your value and know what you're worth, so that you can clearly go through what and what may come out, what's coming out, at the cost at the sale, but what additional fees that may come out during the inspections or negotiating during inspections, or if it doesn't appraise, yada yada. So, or home warranties or whatever. Thank you for that. That is something that data-driven people, which y'all heard on the consumer panel, that's what they want. They want the data, give them the data, and provide value for them. All right, I see that a lot of people need some training. Who do we get Cloud CMA through? Oxford MLS. We will look into that, Rexanne and Becky, on that for Oxford. But it sounds like we need more training on it. All right, what are y'all hearing me say? I know this is another convoluted conversation, but my goal is not to, I don't want to simplify it here. I need us to elevate the conversation, which is going to take us having multiple conversations, y'all being bold enough to stop me and ask me questions so that we can learn together. What else do y'all need to ask me right now before we get off? We are going to do additional trainings on this in the weeks to come.
Hey Sarah, this is
Yes.
Habiba.
Hey Habiba, good morning.
Good morning. I have a question.
Yes.
What's the rules for referral fee? Because I referred a client to the Atlanta agent, and he told me he will give me the referral fee, but we don't have any written agreement. So, what's the basic rules? Do we need a written agreement or
Yes.
just?
Yes. She's asking about referral fees. Y'all always get referrals in writing. Okay. And there is a referral agreement form that you can get in the form section of DocuSign, but always get that referral agreement form. And that fee is up to you. I see 25%, I see 30%, I see 20%. It just depends. But that fee is up to you and what you want. And then the other party obviously has to agree to work the deal for that referral fee. So, and some of y'all are like, why would they not do it? Well, some people may say they're too busy or whatnot and they can't do it, which isn't anything to get emotional about. It's just saying like, hey, like, I mean, honestly, there's been times because I have a split on the team and our agents are super busy and they're like, hey, I can't get to that right now and I can't provide the best service. Can we refer them to somebody else? Like, so just taking it to take it is us being not a fiduciary, but functionary. So Abiba, to answer your question, it's all negotiable, but it needs to be in writing.
Okay, thank you so much.
And make sure that I could do a whole another section on referrals. We'll do that another time. All right, y'all. So all this to say, you do have access to basic net sheets in Cloud CMA. Make sure that y'all log in there and start playing around with it. Linda, we do need to start adding an additional training to that and then looking into that for Oxford. And again, please go meet with a title attorney, understand a settlement statement. And this is for seasoned agents too. The more that you can look at it, and have them explain it, the better off you'll be when explaining this to a buyer or seller. And then same thing with the loan estimate sheet as well on the buy side. So, all right, everybody. Sorry, we went super long today, and I apologize for that. But I think this is elevating a lot of us and a lot of the conversation and seeing some resources that I don't think a lot of us have touched in several years. So, all right, y'all. A thankful Thursday. Again, before I get off, please go tell somebody thank you. You appreciate them. Grateful for y'all. Make it a good one. Make it count. Bye, everybody.